Hello and welcome back to another episode of Tech Talks Daily. I'm your host, and today I'm thrilled to introduce our esteemed guest, Greg Hanson, Group Vice President for EMEA and Latin America at Informatica Software. Now, Informatica, as many of you might already know, is a pioneer in the field of data management, but it has recently made strides in integrating artificial intelligence into its products. So recently, Informatica launched CLAIRE GPT as part of its Intelligent Data Management Cloud, positioning itself as the industry's first generative AI-powered data management platform. Now, this cutting-edge AI copilot leverages a natural language-based interface, aiming to revolutionize how enterprises manage, process, and analyze data. And with over 50,000 metadata-aware connections, IDMC processes an incredible 54 trillion monthly transactions for its customers. And the introduction of CLAIRE GPT is set to enhance productivity, foster deeper data democratization, and provide an in-context data experience. So today, Greg will share more about how AI is transforming data management and solving real-world problems. And we hear so much about AI, machine learning, generative AI, great buzzwords, but hey, what problems are we solving here? And today we're going to talk about some of those big problems, from supply chain shortages to meeting ESG requirements. But enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Stockholm in Sweden, where Greg is waiting to speak with us today. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Greg. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you very much, Neil. My name is Greg Hanson, so I'm the Group Vice President for EMEA and Latin America here at Informatica Software. And what I do is I operationally manage all our specialist organizations. Informatica has a broad platform of capabilities in data management, and my team are specialists around specific facets of data management, like master data management, governance and privacy, democratization of data through marketplaces, quality, and things like that. And then quite common use cases that platforms get used for, things like ESG, environmental and social governance reporting, mergers and acquisitions, modernization, and so forth. So that's a 5,000-foot view of what I'm doing.
Awesome. Well, it's a huge pleasure to have you on the podcast with us today. And of course, as it is a tech podcast, we've got to talk about AI. It's a huge talking point right now. Can you explain to our audience the role of AI in data management now and how it's making companies more productive and ultimately innovative? Because there's so much talk and buzzwords at the moment. It's great to get it back to business value and return on investment and all those kind of things. So can you expand on that for me?
Actually, I like the way you framed the question around how AI is being used in data management, because, I mean, for me, when I look at the uses of AI, I think many people are more used to seeing AI in my words, in a sort of consumptive sense, where you ingest a lot of information and then you use it to try and derive a new product, service, or automate a business process, an outcome, if you like. But in your question, you got to define the fact that AI is increasingly being used in data management. And that's because organizations are realizing that, the old adage of garbage in, garbage out still applies. So if you haven't got a very pristine, trustworthy feed of data going in to AI and ML models, then you're going to make sort of incorrect decisions at an accelerated pace, if you like. So I like the framing of AI for use in data management. And that's really what I'm focused on in my day-to-day role here at Informatica. And what we're all about is using AI specifically to automate the production of high-quality data, if you like. And just to give you some examples of what that means things like, first of all, enabling an organization to identify what data assets they have by scanning and cataloging information. It's about them being able to say, well, actually, you've got incorrect data in many of your systems. How can we automate the cleansing and fixing of that information? And then can we integrate that information across different systems? Can we help secure it from a privacy and governance perspective? Can we master it to get a single pristine view of a customer or a product or an asset? And then increasingly, how do we help organizations to automate using AI the democratization of information? And in a world that's kind of highly regulated and we don't want everyone to get access to PII data, for example, you need automation to help you do that in a secure and trustworthy manner. So that's just a little bit about, AI specific for data management rather than that sort of consumptive outcome examples that many people are used to.
Yeah, and you mentioned consumptive outcomes there, and AI and generative AI are leading to so many pretty new innovations, such as AI-powered search. But I also recently read, much more interestingly, I was reading about solving real-world problems, such as supply chain shortages. So it's just encouraging everyone to think differently and think bigger for me. But can you provide some examples of these innovations and explain how they're changing the way that businesses operate now?
I had the pleasure of sitting on stage at the Data 2030 Summit, actually, again in Stockholm here, where I'm based today, speaking with Ericsson. And Ericsson are going through a shift in terms of their cultural and data literacy within the organization and so on, as many large organizations are. And one of the key things around, you mentioned AI-powered search and solving. Now, again, people are used to thinking about search in terms of doing a Google search and getting a response. But for many large organizations, one of the biggest issues is, what data have I got? So your search is actually much more thinking about the origin of your data and physically what data assets that you have. So it's about indexing rather than searching. So it's being able to understand what data you've got out there in the ether, cataloging and indexing it to make sure you're making decisions about what you can do with data from a point of view of understanding and comprehension of what data assets you have. And that's a story with Ericsson. They've gone out as a large organization, realized that it's not just technology that can solve this. Technology can help with identification using AI to identify those assets and products in terms of data that we talked about. But also you need your technology platform to support you with the cultural changes around people as well. So how can AI and ML be used in a technology platform to help with the adoption of the new ways of working around data? And that means that you've got to have interfaces and you've got to have AI-guided assistants that can help people with the adoption of technology to deliver these new outcomes. And that whole cultural shift around the deployment of a new technology and the engagement of people is a really good example of how AI and ML in a platform like ours can really help organizations to shift into becoming that kind of data-driven organization of the future. So, and then you mentioned about real-world problems as well. Another big organization that we commonly work with, like Unilever. Obviously, I think many companies, especially in their space, have seen a lot of disruption during times of COVID and so on, with the most recent kind of global problems we have with the war and so forth. There's been a lot of supply chain disruptions, and one of the things that we're helping them to do is use technologies to automate onboarding of things like suppliers. So for them, they experienced an 80% reduction in the time taken to onboard new suppliers, which has created a fundamental shift in terms of how they can manage disruptions to supply chain when they can use a broader network of suppliers, which previously would have taken quite a substantial amount of time to onboard in that specific example. So those are just a couple of things off the top of my head where you can see that platforms and use of AI is really helping to deliver real outcomes and make cultural changes within organizations.
And if I look back at the 200 podcast interviews I've had this year, and also the many conferences I've attended within the last 6 months, another big trend is how enterprises are increasingly needing to address environmental, social and governance requirements, or ESG as it's better known. So I'm curious, how is AI helping enterprises meet requirements like this?
Yeah, like you. I mean, it's a common conversation. In the Nordics where I am right now, I've been having that conversation several times over the last 2 days. So, when you think about the challenge of ESG, I think ESG, the topic itself, just to back up and give you a 5,000-foot view on that,
sure.
There is different scopes of ESG reporting. And I think the initial scope that many companies were already used to was relatively straightforward, because it was about using your own data as an organization, reporting your own emissions. And many companies could do that in a fairly straightforward way, and in some cases with the tools they already had. But as we move forward with the new Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, which affects 50,000 companies in Europe come January the 1st of next year, those are more focused on Scope 2 and Scope 3, which are much more about your supply chain and how the suppliers that you use are really generating and impacting the environment. And of course, that is a huge data challenge. And that means you need to integrate data from all of your supply chain, and you need to keep pristine information around the products, the materials that they're providing to you, and supplier data about them themselves. So you need technology and AI to help you do that, help you master potentially millions of products, potentially master thousands of suppliers. And also, it's not just about using AI to deal with that data challenge around ESG as well. It's using AI to help you make more sustainable decisions moving forward, because ultimately what many companies want to get to is a point of not just becoming regulatory compliant, but being able to make more environmental and socially responsible decisions to help drive their brand forward. And again, AI and ML can help individuals and help automate the selection of suppliers for specific products based upon how they score on an environmental basis. And that's what AI is bringing to the party in the context of ESG, not just automating the route to compliance, but automating how we can make more ethically green and environmentally based decisions.
And generative AI's ability to understand complex prose is something that's being talked a lot about lately. And the negative aspects are already well documented, because I suspect bad news sells and generates more clicks. But again, from a business value and ROI business standpoint, how does this ability to simplify data management and make it more intelligent, make it more automated for businesses? Can you expand on that for me?
I think there are huge leap forwards in the use of generative AI and in the most recent OpenAI models that are available this year. It's incredible, the pace of development. And the other thing as a software vendor, it's actually becoming increasingly simple to leverage that capability as part of our platform. If I just step back and tell you the leap forward that we're experiencing in the software world about embedding that technology, I think to this point, organizations like my organization have been focused on using AI in a kind of assistant basis, where, for example, a developer of a data management integration mapping between two systems would have a template open and be able to develop a point-to-point relationship. And then the AI assistant would come in and make recommendations, and then based upon those recommendations, help automate the tasks. But now with generative AI, really, all of those functions, all of those tasks can be triggered by a simple voice or text command. So it's taking it way too much to the next level, and it's really giving you more of the true end-to-end automation that will deliver huge productivity basic benefits, because you don't need a person to physically make a decision or physically do a mapping or follow an AI assistant's advice. That can all be automated as well. So at our most recent conference that we had like 4 weeks ago now, we showed a great demo of doing something in the current context of using an assistant, and then saying, okay, well, how would you do with this with generative AI? And literally, it took a 5-minute process, which was already a significant productivity advantage on doing things wholly manually. But we took a 5-minute process down to being a 5-second process by using generative AI to automate the end-to-end process. So really, it's transformative in terms of the amount of productivity and benefits that you get out of the use of generative AI in data management.
And I think this is a perfect moment to introduce everyone listening to CLAIRE, which is the AI engine of Informatica's intelligent data management cloud. So can you tell me a little bit more about it and also how it processes? I think I read 53 trillion monthly transactions, and also expand on the impact that it's had on digitalization for some pretty big names out there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, the growth has been absolutely phenomenal. Up until this year, really, we've seen volumes doubling on an annual basis to get up to that 53 trillion number that you quoted. And as we sit here now, it's probably much more than that. The growth is so extensive, and CLAIRE underpins that, because as an organization, one of the decisions we made a long time ago now is that we would be metadata orientated. And for those of you, I'm sure many of you are familiar with that term, but metadata means the data about the data. It's the documentation essentially. And what that means is we're not a code-based environment. We're in the modern context, low code, no code. And the reason why that's so important, being metadata oriented, is because it's the fuel for AI in data management. And you mentioned about the 53 trillion transactions that our customers are using to process, but associated to that is 14 petabytes of metadata that we have, which describes what our customers and our products are being used for. So that enables us to help our AI and ML layer learn, because it's learning on 14 petabytes of metadata representing what organizations are doing with our technology out there. And because it's got such a complete stack of metadata, it can learn at a very fast rate and deliver more automation, more acceleration on an ongoing basis as those 54 trillion transactions grow, doubling every year. The amount of metadata associated to that grows at an exponential rate as well. And therefore, the pace of acquisition of knowledge and automation is also increasing at an exponential rate in terms of what we can deliver to the market on automation. But just to step back, what does CLAIRE mean? Well, CLAIRE is we don't consider it to be a product per se as part of our platform. It's an underlying service. And so, as I mentioned before, when you're in the Informatica product environment, you experience CLAIRE as a personal assistant almost within the environment itself, making recommendations, automating tasks. And moving forward, before the end of this year, as we announced at our Informatica World a few weeks ago, we've got generative capabilities with CLAIRE as well. So we'll have that GA before the end of the year, and really we'll be bringing that kind of vision of text and voice automation to the world of data management this year, in fact. So incredible progression in that respect. You mentioned about what does that mean to customers as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got some huge brand names. You've got more than 5,000 organizations are using our intelligent data management cloud, of which CLAIRE is the essential AI layer within that cloud. Just to give you some examples, Puma, they're using that platform to help unify customers' experiences, so automation across all the web shop apps. And using automation through AI has enabled them to get a 20% better conversion rate of prospect to customer on those different channels. And then, in organizations like Avis, who've got thousands of vehicles out there, they're tracking data in real time, and that enables them to work out better and more productive ways of maintaining those cars, more fuel efficiency advice for drivers, and better relationships between employees and vehicles and assets and plants. So where to maintain them, when to maintain them, and more productive engineering visits. So lots more benefits that they're really getting out of the use of that data through our IDMC platform.
And before you came on the podcast, I was reading about a pharma company that you helped automate 95% of cataloging capabilities. So can you share a case study that CLAIRE has made where CLAIRE has made a significant difference in simplifying data management and improving the outcomes for a company? You don't have to name any names, but it'd be great to bring it all to life with some big stats.
Yeah, I mean, that is a research paper that is publicly available for us. The organization is not named, but if you look at that first challenge that I mentioned previously as well, bringing it to life, if you're an organization that has customer data, or if you're a life sciences organization like that specific one, you really don't understand what data assets you have and where they reside. So just to bring it to life, there's an organization, a banking organization, who used this for GDPR compliance, which is a common thing these days. And imagine that challenge where you need to make sure that within that financial institution, your customer data is protected and is well governed. And also when you're dealing with inbound requests for removal of their personal information, then how do you manage that? It's a very complex process when data could be spread across many different systems. And really what the AI and ML is allowing organizations like that to do is the AI is just going out and scanning the systems that an organization has. And that could be thousands of systems. And we're going out and automating the scanning of all those systems. And then not only that, we're taking that metadata and we're even generating metadata if it doesn't exist in the original systems based upon the data that's within those systems. And that's AI that's doing that. And then once we've got access to all that volume of information, the AI and ML is then able to take a look at the data, classify the data, profile the data for data quality concepts, index it, and build a catalog, a searchable archive of all a company's assets. And in that example you mentioned, we were able to do that with AI and ML on a 95% basis for all the data assets that they had across hundreds of systems. That would have taken many man years to do manually, and that was able to be done in an automated fashion using AI and more specifically CLAIRE within our data management platform. So as I mentioned before, these types of applications of AI and ML, they really are transformative for organizations with those global challenges like GDPR, traceability, lineage of information, and so on. It's all being automated through the use of AI and ML.
And we have mentioned generative AI once. I'm going to mention it again because you've also launched a new enterprise generative AI tech. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and what this technology is and how that will benefit enterprises too?
Yeah, I briefly touched on it before when I was talking about our recent Informatica World. Yeah. There's a great demo to be found on our website. Anyone listening to this, you can go to informatica.com and look at the main stage presentation that we did at Informatica World. But we chose a demo scenario, which was actually one of the common use cases that we get deployed for now, which is a mergers and acquisitions use case. And it was good because what it allows you to visualize is a complexity where you've got two companies needing to be merged together to get a consolidated financial reporting outcome or a top 10 list of the most profitable companies. And that's quite difficult for companies to achieve. And in fact, in many mergers and acquisition scenarios, that can take months, years to achieve that kind of aggregated view of high quality data. And what we did was we chose to use that example, and we did it the existing way, which was to use kind of a manual developer using AI, which was through an assistant basis. So you go and ask it, I want to merge information from company A to company B. And in the first scenario, AI helps you by identifying you should pick these source systems and these source systems if you want to get an aggregated view of customer information across the two companies. And yes, you can step through that. You can accept the advice that's been given. And to some extent, you can automate the process of mapping many systems together across those two companies, applying data quality rules, applying matching rules to get a consolidated single view of customer across those two different initiatives, allowing you then to derive the top 10 customers across the aggregated two company view. And we did, and that took 5 minutes to do that in a demo scenario. But then when you use generative AI, you literally just sat there with a screen that looks like a text box, a Google search box, and you simply say, I want to merge my customer data together from these two companies. And a reason I want to do that is to identify the top 10 customers. Press a button. It will iteratively talk to you to qualify your question. And you step through simply 4 questions that it will ask you back in an iterative fashion. And then it goes and automates the entire thing end to end without you needing to click a button, engage in any way. And so you're literally delivering what would have taken months to do in seconds, which is, as I said, completely transformative in terms of the way that organizations can use data. And I'll say one other thing about the use of technology as well, because if you talk to many people who leverage data, so data scientists and so on, they will tell you that their biggest problem, their biggest pain point is finding the right data, making sure it's of the right quality, and then they spend 20% of their time doing what they like doing, which is the analysis of that information. So you can imagine that if you automate all that capability, I just talked about automating an output of a report, that you can automate the production of information all the way through for data scientists to become much more productive as well. So the potential is boundless, really, in terms of the way that you can apply this kind of capability now moving forward.
Love it. And as we come to an end, I'd love for you to take a gaze into your virtual crystal ball here. What do you see the future trends in the intersection of AI and data management? And what role do you see Informatica playing in helping shape that future too?
Yeah, well, I guess I put this in the context of what I see customers wanting to do, because Because that's what really drives our innovation path is what the market, what people and organizations want to do with data. And certainly the North Star that most organizations are driving towards is to ensure that individuals have the right data to the right person at the right time. Okay. And organizations can't do that right now. And why do they want to do it? Well, they want decisions to be made on accurate information. So evidence, if you like, rather than gut feel. And they want to deliver differentiated experiences. And you can only do that when you've got pristine data. And they want more automation. So they want their people to focus on the value-added elements and let AI and ML manage the automation. So that's our North Star, is helping organizations to deliver on that nirvana of having the right data to the right person at the right time, and using AI and ML to take away all the manual efforts required currently in data management. And through the use of that 14 petabytes of metadata, 54 trillion transactions every month, we're making rapidly developing, going through rapidly developing cycles, which is really becoming that possibility a reality as we move forward. And we'll see people's roles evolve, I think. So people's roles will evolve less to be involved in manual tasks around data management, where they can leave that to our AI and ML. And it will be more about helping to tune the AI and ML. That will be the engagement of people moving forward to help machines learn faster, learn quicker, and automate more and more. And we focus on more of the high value stuff around the data, which is the things that most people find most interesting anyway.
I think that's a perfect moment to end on. For anyone listening wanting to find out more details about a lot of the incredibly cool technology that we've talked about today and the business value that can offer, where's the best place that you'd point everyone listening to find out more information about some of these new releases and the how they all work at Informatica? Where would you like to point everyone?
Yeah, so www.informatica.com is the obvious choice, and you'll find Informatica World sessions available from the homepage there, and you can see video evidence of everything I just talked about on the call. So look forward to seeing some visits there. And if you want to catch more from myself, at Hanson GJ on Twitter, and I also often post my thoughts, thinkings, and so on. If you want to hear more from me.
Well, I'll add links to all of those things so people can find you all nice and easy. I'll also, on the blog post that I'll promote this episode on, I'll include a video to some of the things that we talked about too. But we covered so much in a short amount of time. Incredibly exciting technology, but just thank you for sitting down and sharing it with me today.
I really appreciate the opportunity, Neil, to talk to you. And hopefully everyone enjoys the listen.
So a massive thank you to our guest, Greg Hanson, for sharing his insights into the exciting intersection of AI and data management. And his work at Informatica, particularly the launch of CLAIRE GPT, is truly reflecting that transformative power of generative AI in simplifying and automating data management and solving real-world problems. And that is the refreshing side of this for me. So at the very least, I hope today's conversation has sparked a little curiosity in you about the untapped potential of AI in digitalization and innovation. And if you are keen to learn more about Informatica's Intelligent Data Management Cloud, I encourage you to visit their website. If you've got any questions or anything you'd want to share about what you've heard today, please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilC.Hughes. But other than that, just a huge thank you for listening to the podcast today. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.